Today's podcast is brought to you by Kamikoto. Kamikoto makes great kitchen knives using traditional techniques. They've just launched their longest blade in the collection, an epic 13-inch Yanagiba knife. This thing right here.
It's like a samurai sword.
It is so badass. There's nothing cooler than looking forward to cutting an onion. Looking forward to cutting something. These knives are, oh my God. Look at this bad bitch. How much fun is it to pull this out when you have people over and you cut up a bunch of top sirloins, you grill them up, and then you slice them into, look at this. Everyone's going to be like, yo, what knife is that? That's half the fun of having a knife is pulling it out. And this knife is absolutely gorgeous. And it comes in this beautiful wood box. I got 2 knives right here.
But 4 knives right there.
4 knives right here. My bad. 4 knives. These Kamikoto knives are used by Michelin chefs working at Michelin star restaurants. They make great gifts. I'm telling you when I say it's always hard to know what to buy a man come around Christmas or birthday or the holidays. I no guy is ever going to open this and then not go, oh.
Right.
Leanne opened these knives when we were on FaceTime. She goes, you got these knives, and opened it up. And I was like, oh, I couldn't wait to get home.
Yeah.
I love these. And they're heavy too. These are fantastic knives, and they make a great gift. They come with these whetstones so you can maintain the edge of your knife. And the Kamikoto is so confident about their knives that each knife comes with a lifetime guarantee. If you go ahead and buy right now, Kamikoto is offering our listeners an extra 25% off site-wide on top of their Black Friday offers. Go to kamikoto.com and use the promo code Bertcast. That's KAMIKOTO.com/Bertcast. Once again, KAMIKOTO.com/Bertcast. Thank you, Kamikoto.
Dogs in Hawaii.
Oh, I love the way you say it. See, I won't. Are you rolling, Austin? We're rolling. I won't say it like that, and I'll tell you why. I feel like it's disrespectful if I do that. Does that make sense?
I can see.
You grew up in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, you're saying it just fine.
But I'm not saying but you guys go here. Just pull it to your face a little bit. You can move it around however you need to.
How's that? Good. Okay.
You say Hawaii.
You can say Hawaii. I say Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Yeah, either one is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like don't say like Hawaii.
See, I grew up in a movie called The North Shore.
Yes.
Do you know that movie?
Oh my gosh. I love that movie.
Oh
yeah.
It was such. I mean, it's a classic story of, outsider trying to break in. It's the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
It's every story that we ever saw growing up. There was something. Laird Hamilton was in that movie,
and so is Jerry Lopez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was so. We all grew up surfing in Florida. I never was good. I was really, really bad. All I could do was eat shit. I could never even. I stood up maybe a handful of times. But we had such a respect for Hawaii because of that movie that like all of us were like we had unwritten rules in our head that like you don't go out and just surf in Hawaii. I mean, come on. We like duck diving was so important to us because he did that in that movie.
It really is a classic. It's something that I can just watch again and again. And yeah, the story of Rick Kane and just his whole journey there. It's pretty relevant, I'd say, to what it really is like in Hawaii. I mean, definitely there's cheese ball moments to it and whatnot, which make it all the better. But I would say it's pretty on point in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought that would be that I have one summer like that where I lived out there. Real quick, so that everyone knows, I discovered you personally on Netflix. You did a documentary It was like you and 3 other people, maybe.
Fish people.
Fish people.
I think it was me and four other people, maybe even 5.
You stood out. I think you were the first.
I was. Yeah.
But you stood out. I mean, obviously, you're beautiful. I think that draws everyone's eye. But when I first saw you dive to like 100 feet, I was mesmerized. I did everything I could to read everything about you. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about spearfishing. I really, really want to talk about Hawaii. It's my favorite place in the world. It's my favorite place in the world. I think there is not a better place. But I'm obsessed with it. You grew up there?
I did. I was born and raised on Maui, and now I live on the north shore of Oahu.
Where Haleiwa is where I've gone out every time to go swimming with sharks.
I am right next to Haleiwa. I'm in
right by that. Where's the snow cone place that has tiger's blood?
It has tiger's
right
blood.
By you can walk from the harbor to the snow cone place where they put the condensed milk on top.
Oh yes, yeah.
Oh, it's my favorite place in the world. Oh, I love the North Shore. I think the North Shore is absolutely beautiful. But Maui, you grew up on Maui?
Maui's incredible. I grew up on the North Shore of Maui, and then later moved to Makawa, which is like kind of like a upcountry cowboy town. But yeah, Maui is gorgeous, and I think because of growing up on the outer islands, now living on Oahu, I do feel like North Shore is the place for me because it reminds me a lot of the outer islands. It is still pretty country and can be rural and in its own
a little bit
spots.
of a drive from like it's definitely drive from like where we've ever stayed. I've stayed in the North Shore, Turtle Bay.
Yes.
I've stayed in Turtle Bay. By the way, I am really bad at remembering places I've stayed, except for Hawaii. But for the most part, all we ever went to is Ihilani in
Waikiki.
Right.
Right.
And then we've stayed in Waikiki proper, I guess. I've been to Hawaii maybe 12 times.
Wow.
I worked for Travel Channel for 9 years.
Oh wow.
So for me, that's why when I saw that video you did with Brad Leone,
yeah.
I was like that was you. That was my old job. I got really jealous because I thought 4 years ago I could have said, "Hey, someone get a hold of her. Let's go spearfishing."
Right.
But I don't do that anymore. I just do stand up. But the North Shore is a drive.
It is. It's like an hour to get out there. Yeah. Which is just enough time to decompress and be ready to take it all in.
So how old were you when you first started? Do you remember the first time you saw the ocean?
I mean, I can't say I remember the first time I saw the ocean because I was probably a little baby.
Yeah.
But I remember being introduced to spearfishing, and my dad, he would go spearfishing. We were basically poor when I was really young, and so he would do it to put food on the table. That's why he went spearfishing, and he always jokes that the only reason why I got to come with him is because he also couldn't afford to hire a babysitter when my mom was working. But I do remember those early days of him letting me tag along with him. He said I was about 4. And I just remember getting in the ocean and feeling so tiny, just looking down at this blue ocean that I just would shrivel up because I couldn't touch the ground, and it just felt crazy. But him getting me to just relax into that fear and then kind of embracing it in a different way and just realizing that I was like in a world where I could fly, and just really tagging along with my dad, following him, putting in my orders for my favorite dinners and watching him go down and get them for me.
Now, what is the predominant fish you spearfish in Hawaii? Like, what's the easiest thing that you'll find? And then what's like when you go, oh, shut up?
There's such a big diversity of reef fish that when it comes to the easier ones, I mean, first of all, it's still going to take skill. It's still going to take a lot of work.
It does. Is there a difference? Is there a different type of fish you find at 100 feet versus 20 feet?
Most definitely. Yeah.
Really?
So if you're going shallow and you're like 15 to 30 feet, staying within that first atmosphere, you're going to just see a whole bunch of reef fish like surgeon fish and chubs and, just little reef fish, sometimes some somewhat bigger ones, but just a whole variety of different tangs and surgeons and whatnot. And I would say that they will give you as a beginner more of a chance. You still are probably going to blow it over and over again trying. It's not easy, but it's attainable if you stick with it. And then after that, if you start being able to go deeper and deeper and diving, to 100 feet or, just in more depth, you're going to see these fish called mu, which are these they're like these emperor fish, these porgies, and they are just so elusive and so hard to get. You're also going to see fish called uku, which are these gray snappers that are predatory fish that, that just, they know how to work you. And then if you even go deeper, then you'll get into the pelagic fish, the ahi, the ono, the mahi. And that's a whole different game.
The ahi, the ono, the mahi.
Yeah.
I have a mahi in my refrigerator marinating. What are the depths like? For anyone listening, I can't understate how obsessed with spearfishing I am.
I can tell.
I really am. It looks to be, in my opinion, I grew up fishing. In Florida, we grew up fishing.
Yeah.
You grew up snorkeling in the Bahamas. But and I think spearfishing in the Bahamas is done with a Hawaiian sling. It's a different type of spearfish. I don't know. We never did it, but it was just we were never introduced to it. I'm sure we would have probably gotten around to it back when I could have held my breath forever. Mm-hmm. But after seeing your video, I literally have my top 5 favorite spearfishermen. I mean, I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah,
because it seems very pure.
That's amazing that you can have that much of an appreciation for it before even trying, because it really, and I do think you have to try it. The way that you are so into it, I would love to actually watch you just go for it, because it's exactly that. Like the minute my head is even underwater, it's just a whole different mindset. You're literally in a different world, and it's so freaking cool because there's no words in this world. No one's talking. And you really have to kind of tune in to what's going on around you, to your natural instincts, to all these kinds of things. And it just makes you, first of all, so present in the moment, so aware, so alert. And it's never going to be the same. The ocean is always changing. You can go to the same spot every day. It's going to be a different experience. And then you have to take your body to the stages of relaxation in a time when it's really hard to relax. When you are in the ocean or in currents or see sharks or just wonderful things, you see your dream fish swimming around, your heart is going to beat out of your chest. Every single part about you is going to be freaking out, and you're going to have to figure out a way to reverse that, to say get your shit together. Do not freak out. I know that's your dream fish, and I know your word is going to swim away, but if you don't calm down right now, you're going to blow it. And you're going to have to take yourself through this thing of being so almost zen-like. Sometimes I'll even tell myself, I'm taking this drop not to even see that fish. I'm taking this drop just to go down to the bottom of the ocean and take a nap. And I'll actually lie to myself just to get my body to somehow relax more, because you need to. If you don't relax like that, you're not going to be able to hold your breath. If your heart rate is going like this, you're not going to be able to hold your breath. And, the ocean's this big mass thing of energy where those things, your heart rate, your thoughts, they're all these vibrations that can travel through the ocean. The fish, whether they're fish or sharks, they have a lateral line that pick up vibrations. And so that's going to screw you up too. If you're too excited, those fish are going to sense that, and they're going to know that you're up to something. They're going to know that you're a predator, and they're not going to come near you. And likewise, if it's a big fish, a shark, and you're too excited, you're kind of sending off messages of distress, and that's going to attract it in, your prey. And so there's the best camouflage you can have for hunting in the ocean is not your wetsuit, it's not the pattern. It's learning how to slow your heart rate, and it's learning how to be calm when you're excited or when you're facing fear. And that is the best thing you can do to make yourself invisible. That'd
be the exact opposite. My heart was racing. we went diving for lobster one time in Key West on one of my Travel Channel shows, and the couple we were with was so nervous, like so they couldn't get underwater, they couldn't dive at all, and they would literally pop up after like 2 feet, like again, and I could dive down to the bottom, but they couldn't, and then like little things like clearing their ears, it was just freaking them out. It's amazing to see people who, it's like horses, horses can read you. I got bucked off a horse in Costa Rica one time because I'd been bit by a bat the night before. And
you what?
It's a long story that no one believes. I got bit by a bat the day before, and I realized it was a bat bite. I thought I had rabies. I thought I was dying, and I got on a horse, and the horse read my energy as if he was my therapist, and was like, "Bro, I'm not cool with you on my back. You're going through some shit. I'm not. This is me time. This is you time." And it was scary, but I feel like I'm obsessed right now with the ocean and the energy in the ocean. I'm like almost to the place where I want to take mushrooms and go to the ocean and try to read energy, because me and my daughter Isla is the one that I think really has an affinity for water. She will take this is horrible parenting, by the way, if anyone's listening. Probably shouldn't even say it, but we'll take my scuba equipment and get in the pool, and she'll breathe underwater. And she literally, the second she does that, you see her body just relax, and she just gets in the water. She's the one who, in the videos, diving deep. I posted a video of us in Bali.
Yeah.
She could dive so fucking deep that I was like, that's something innate in a human.
Right.
Not everyone's got. My other daughter, George, could get 1.5 feet underwater, plop up and go, "How deep was that?" And you're like, "No, it was really deep, honey." But we got in the ocean down in San Diego, and we were it was a shore break, and we were just off the cliff of where it would break. It was like maybe 10 feet out, but just to the place where our bodies were being pushed to stand back up, and the wave would break behind us, and when we get sucked out, we'd lean forward. All of a sudden, I'm like in this very spiritual place going, I'm having energy that's traveling from thousands of miles away, rush into my body, pass me, pull me. I was like, God, Isla, one day you're gonna end up smoking pot, and this is gonna mean a lot more to you. But but I'm obsessed with the energy of the ocean, because you're right. I saw the video of you with the shark, and I've seen videos with you in so many places where your energy dictates the energy around you.
It does. It really does. And I mean, I think in a way, it's like that's why, to me, just going in the ocean.
We played this video for
I saw that.
These two guys,
was hilarious,
and they're not, and they were losing but your energy, correct, dictates that moment. The energy can shape it, but I think a lot of times it goes both ways, where you have to get in the ocean and you have to kind of read the energy of what's going on around you, and then that's how you dictate what your energy should be. And so in the case of that shark, it's like as soon as that's like a 14-foot great white shark.
It was 17 foot.
17?
Yeah.
It was 3 feet between friends.
Yes.
17-foot great white shark, and that is a big. I mean, like. It's a barrel of a fish.
That was a big fish.
Set me through the whole scenario.
So basically, I slip into the water that day. There was nothing going on that day.
Who are you with?
So I'm on this research vessel for the sake of studying great white sharks, and the thing was that you usually go on scuba. You get into a shark cage, and then you wait, and hopefully a great white will swim by, and you get to watch, the animals. And so we did that in the days before, and we saw some great whites, and that was my first time, really seeing great whites like that, and it was cool. But at the same time, we talk about energy and body language and all that kind of stuff, and that's what I'm used to, is being a free diver. and being outside of a cage. And so it was interesting for me. And I got to the point basically where I really missed freediving. And then we had this lull where there were no sharks. There was, nothing. It was such a boring day of not seeing any sharks. People were literally falling asleep on scuba in the cage because there was nothing to see. Like it was just blue water and that's it. And so the captain's like, Kimmy, if you want to free dive today is your day. There's nothing going on out here. I was like, I'm so down. I miss it.
How deep were you?
I mean, it was like bottomless. It was deep. Yeah. And then so I put on my snorkel and my freediving gear, and I was just gonna go in just to get that feeling of diving. And my friend Morgan's like, "Oh, do you mind if I get some shots of you freediving?" And everyone was just bored because there were no sharks. And so
how serendipitous,
right? And so I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I get in the water. My mask kind of starts to leak, so I have my head out of the water. I'm fixing it. Right when Morgan slips in, I just hear him scream through his snorkel. He grabs my arm. I feel like he's going to rip it out of its socket. He's shaking me so hard. So obviously I know what I'm going to see as soon as I put my face down. And as soon as I do, she's like, from me to you, swimming straight at me.
Whoa.
Yes. And so that was a very quick instance of reading energy. And if that shark is swimming straight at me, I know I have to embrace this moment and just swim right at her. Because what is it going to do if you do the opposite, right?
It's going to chase you.
Yeah. Like, do you think you can outswim a great white shark? Probably not.
Oh, no. I was in the water with a great white shark. I've been in the water twice with a great white shark. Once in a cage, once out of a cage on accident.
Oh, cool.
We were swimming with blue shark.
Those are cool sharks. Yeah.
Very, very like almost like dogs.
Puppy dogs.
Yeah. They were just literally just come up and you could put your hand on their nose and they were really docile. And we were swimming blues just off Catalina with this guy, John Manley is his name. He's like an oceanographer. And they just scattered. And we were like, oh, that's odd. And we saw a shadow in the back. It was pretty good visibility, to be honest with you. Shadow in the back, but it was moving with such intention.
Mm-hmm,
meaning like,
exactly.
I don't, like a running back who sees an opening, and you see that running back take that opening and you go, God, man, I don't know if I could move like that. That shark moved so intent that I thought, I remember thinking, I'd seen videos of shark attacks in my life, and I was like, well, if that happened to me, I would just swim. I'd like kind of move them away. I bet I could push away and fight my way off. You can't. Right. That shark decides to make a move, and it's going so quick. Mm. And so I hopped out of the water, and they were making maybe the best cheeseburger I've ever had in my life. I swear to God, this woman on this boat made the best breakfast burrito I've ever had in my life and the best cheeseburger I've ever had in my life. But this guy, John Manley, stayed in the water with this, and not far from the cage, but watching it. But it was scary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Like when you put your face in the water and you see the face and the teeth of a great white shark swimming right at you, it is scary. It's definitely fear. But I think in those moments, you need to be able to harness that fear and turn it into something more useful than panic. And so if you can turn it into courage.
I do that with stand-up. Sometimes when I get nervous on stage, I can turn it into positive energy.
I completely agree. I mean, when I basically just I just went like, woo, like I just let out this let's do it, and I just swam at the shark. And as soon as I did, she veered off. And then once she veered off, it was like the minute I swam at her, I think it just kind of told her okay, that's not prey. Prey doesn't do that. And as soon as I did that, it changed her whole energy, where that same, swimming with crazy intention mellowed out. And then this shark started swimming a lot slower. She put her fins out like an airplane, which is kind of gliding.
This is it. We're watching it right now.
And then that happened.
I don't know if you can steal this and put this in the video, please.
Yeah. And so basically then I matched her energy, where now I'm not going to swim aggressively at her. I'm going to swim gently
be with her
because she's being gentle. And so
such a beautiful animal.
So our energy does, I feel, help shape the experience. And it's the same of what you say with stand-up. Because, by this time in my life, I'm very used to dealing with sharks as I am now. public speaking, I was not used to that.
You spoke last night.
Oh yeah, and so these days I'm able to do the same thing. But when I did like my first TED talk, I was so scared. Like that's way scarier than great white sharks for me. To know that you're opening and there's like 1,000 people out there, you know, and your heart starts beating fast, your palms get all sweaty, your voice is shaking and you don't like the way it sounds. That stuff is so
Your mouth gets dry
scary.
and you need to swallow, but you're already in the middle of a sentence.
All of that, you know, but it's the same thing where I just tell myself like, okay, I know that I don't like this, but if I fight this stress that I'm feeling, it's just going to get worse. And I know that because I've tried to fight it before and my voice just shakes more and it just becomes this horrible experience, you know, where I'm just trying so hard to think about what I'm going to say because I don't like how I'm feeling. And yet, or I could use it for something more useful. If I could say, okay, you know, thank you, heart, for beating so fast. Thank you, palms, for sweating. I don't know why you're doing this, but I know that you're here because I'm about to deliver. I'm about to perform. You are here to give me the adrenaline or the energy or whatever it is that I need. That if I don't fight you and I welcome you and I embrace you, you are here to go through my body and let me deliver. And when I embrace it that way, then it becomes a lot less scary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. What were you speaking about last night? Where were you speaking?
Last night I was speaking at this summit called Evolve, which is basically this summit that the surf industry puts on. It's a surf outdoor industry summit. And so they just pretty much try and get the different minds of the outdoor industry. And I was speaking about how hunting and conservation are not enemies and they should not be enemies, and how they might seem like unlikely partners, but it's something that I believe in very much, is that hunting and conservation are and can be, you know, the same. Yeah. I think they are. I think a lot of people separate them and they make these different groups. You know, I've had conservationists that don't want to work with me because I kill innocent animals. I've had hunters kind of, you know, write me off because I work with conservationists and scientists, and so they think I'm in bed with the enemy. And I'm just like, you guys, things are not that black and white. And in fact, like, no one's gonna get anywhere if we keep acting like this. I think, you know, I was raised by a hunter and a hippie, my mom and my dad, and so I just feel like I'm a half breed of sorts on both worlds. And in that way, I kind of feel like a black sheep of both worlds. But more than anything, I think I also see the harmony. And that they're not two separate worlds, that they go hand in hand. And so that's what I was speaking about.
Well, I think anyone raised, I'm not the person to speak about this, but growing up fishing, there was a respect for the ocean in that you didn't just keep what you caught. You kept what you were allowed to. It was like, it was not only was a law, but it was like, I remember being like, the first time I went fishing, being like, in my head, just, oh, you catch everything, keep everything you catch. And friends, my a little older than me, were like, no. And you were like, oh. And so there is a real respect. My fifth favorite spearfisherman is a guy in Exmouth, Australia. My goal is for you guys to hook up and go together somewhere. He's a really cool guy. I just know him from his YouTube page. A little bit of a mouth breather, but he's a great guy. And he caught this huge. They call him not prawn. They call him something else out there. It's not a lobster.
Oh, they call it the painted crayfish.
Yeah, crayfish. Yeah, painted crayfish. Huge one. He's like, this is more than we need, and he put it back. I was like, dude, that's impressive. Like, and then went and got a smaller one. Right. I was like, this will feed us.
Right.
But that is something that I find. I think the older I get, I start realizing the importance of that. You know, I'm good friends with a guy named Joe Rogan, and Joe. I never speak for Joe. I don't like telling stories that he told me privately. I think he said this publicly. I don't know if he has, so I apologize to Joe if I'm sharing out of school. But I think he was going through a point in his life where he was at a crux with the way the farming industry was, and the way that it was kind of a little inhumane and not healthy. And I think he was thinking about going vegetarian, and that's when he picked up hunting. And hunting kind of was a good transition for him. Once again, if I'm speaking out of school, I apologize, Joe. But I think, and I may have heard this on a podcast, I'm not even certain, but he went into hunting and now he just eats his own meat.
Whether or not he said that, I completely that resonates with me so much, because I do think that, you know, a lot of people, we get this good intention to care about the earth, to care about animals, to care about the environment, and so our first knee-jerk reaction oftentimes is, you know, okay, well then stop eating meat, stop eating, you know, fish, stop eating the animals, and I feel like I'm a lot of times on the receiving end of this, where then people will look at me and just say bad guy, you know, because I'm the girl going in the ocean with the spear.
Can I tell you, I find that this is gonna sound a little bit of a stretch, but I find that some of that's not connected to your culture, because your culture, Hawaiian culture, is live off the land.
True, but I also think that Hawaiian or not, or whatever culture you're from, it's also a human thing. And that's, I think, what people became disconnected to, is our human culture, is that we are not separate from the ecosystem. We are literally a mere part of it. You know, we as human beings, we are just animals in this crazy wild kingdom. And it's like, if you look at any other animal on this planet, the first thing that they learn is where their food comes from, where their water comes from. You know, they learn that connection because it's essential to survival. And I just think it's pretty ridiculous that we as human beings, to actually learn that connection in a way, you know, that involves truly harvesting your own food, especially if it's animals, then all of a sudden it's savage or it's primitive. And it's like, that's just ridiculous. Yeah. You know, our way of connecting to food is going to the store, you know, buying a piece of meat or whatever it is, wrapped in plastic on styrofoam. And yes, that can feed you and you can survive. But it's like, there is a reason, I believe, why, you know, the industry, the food industry, appreciates us not being connected. Because if we are not connected, we're not asking the questions. We're not saying, how was this animal raised? How was this? What kind of life did it live? You know, how was this plant raised? What kind of, you know, damage or good did it do to the environment? How were these animals or plants harvested? What are the answers? And if we're not asking those questions, then there doesn't have to be any transparency. And by not asking those questions, we really make it easier for them to mass produce, to do things in a way that doesn't have us, you know, in mind, that doesn't have the benefit of the planet in mind, but only has profits in mind. And so that's what happens, is then we create these industries where it's just like feedlots and mass produced tortured animals, basically stuffed with antibiotics and then fed to us, you know, where we don't have to associate that they have a soul. We don't have to associate that we are using our dollars to still kill. We are killing in mass numbers. And it goes for plants and animals. You know, industrial farming and the way that that's done, it's not any better. And so basically, it's so interesting, though, because I think sometimes people start to catch on to that, and they start to catch on to the bad of these industries. And then the first thing they do is they just say, okay, well, then I'm going vegan. And that doesn't necessarily, you know, it's more complex than that. And then for people to then look at like artisanal fishermen, at bow hunters, at people who actually have this true connection to the earth, at spearfisher people, true connection to the ocean, and then say, oh, how dare you? It's like, no, honey. You're just missing the connection. Yeah. Like completely missing it. They've like, thank you for your good intention. But you're part of the problem. Yeah. And so for someone, you know, whether it was Joe or not, to just like kind of evaluate and examine his choices. I can go vegan. I can do this. Or who is out there doing it right? You know, what is a way where I can harvest meat and truly feel good about what I'm putting into my body, about, you know, this animal living a wild life, about using all parts of it, you know, because that's another huge thing too, is when it comes to these industries, it's like the waste is a huge part of it too, is if you only know how to eat a boneless, skinless fillet of fish because that's what you do to make it, where you can't tell that thing had a soul. You know, if you can't look it in the eye and see a fish from head to tail and say that's still food, you're really changing the yield of that animal. Like to eat a whole fish and be able to pick it off the bones, you're getting so much more out of it than the waste you get if you're just eating a fillet and throwing the rest away.
Yeah.
And it's the same with meat. You know, like back in the day, if someone were to kill a cow, like that cow could literally feed a restaurant for months. And I really mean months. There's a lot of meat on a cow.
Yeah.
And if you were to have chefs that learn how to prepare all parts of this cow, make different dishes every night and serve it in a resourceful, delicious way, telling the story of this animal, it's like that would last a long time. But again, if like you're just having a restaurant where all people know to order is chicken breast or filet mignon, like imagine how many animals have to die to fulfill those orders.
Yeah.
Imagine how much waste goes on. And so really, when it comes to people who are going out and harvesting their own animal, which I know is not something every human can do, but all I'm saying is that those are the people that, for the most part, are using the whole animal, that are actually being honest and accountable about the life that they're taking, who appreciate every single bite so much more than people can even understand. And if everyone were to eat more like that, we'd be a lot better off. And I mean, I just think that one thing about animals too, because people are like, oh, it's still, that animal still had to die, you still took a life. It's like, guess what, we're all taking lives. Our existence comes at a cost. Like whether it's the houses we live in, the products we use, the plants that we eat, like we have a cost. But it's like to do it in that way, it's like that's what nature is. In nature, that's what happens. Animals live these wild and free lives, and guess what, they're all going to have one bad day. That's just plain and simple it, you know. But to me, living a beautiful wildlife and having one bad day, I would take that any day over living as like a tortured feedlot, mass-produced animal, born and raised for food. And with this, I'm not trying to beat up the good guys in that industry either. Because there are good guys in that industry too. There are great ranchers. Mm-hmm. There are great people raising animals for food. And there's always the good 1% out there. And so I just think before we turn our back on any form of diet or whatnot, first look for the good guys. First look for a better way to do it before you just shun something completely. Because then you're really hurting the ones who are doing it right.
You seem very, very passionate about the conservation side.
I'm passionate about both. That's the thing is you put me with conservationists who start bad mouthing hunting, and all I'm gonna do is speak up for that. And you put me with hunters who don't care about conservation, and I just think that that they have to go hand in hand.
Yeah,
you know, that's the balance of nature, and the more connected we get to it, the more that we're going to see that we're not separate from it.
To see yourself working in this ecosystem is different than it's almost elitist to be like,
thank you,
observing down at the ecosystem and going, I have notes, guys, as opposed to going, no, I'm going to get in the ocean with the animals and I'm going to get my dinner the same way they get their dinner. It's almost respectful, I think.
I agree too.
I think that's what kind of really turned me on to spearfishing, because I was like, you're putting yourself in peril. Obviously, you go. I mean, I've seen so many videos of people fighting a shark for their fish, where you're like, and I find that admirable. You know, that you're going, I'm going to go get my dinner, and then you shoot one and you go, that's dinner.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, obviously, if I just wanted to make it easy, there's a lot easier ways for me to get a fish than to get in the ocean, hold my breath, swim down to the bottom of the ocean, holding my breath, and just
throw some dirt over your head.
Right, all of that. And just have one shot to get one fish and make it back up to air. Like, that's not necessarily the most efficient way with all the technology and different fishing practices we have today to get a fish. And it's the same with bow hunting. It's like there's a lot easier ways
get a fucking rifle. You don't have to just line it up with
And so I think that there is definitely a reason why people choose these more primitive ways of stalking and hunting, and it's exactly that. It's because there's something beautiful about kind of putting yourself, like, you know, to this disadvantage or leveling that playing field, because the more that you do that, the more you have to pay attention, the more you have to hone your skills, the more you have to be able to read, every part of the reef or every single bait fish or the way the seaweed's going or whatever it is. And same with hunting. It's like you have to literally stick your face in the dirt sometimes and stay in the weirdest positions for so long where every part of your body hurts and you can't move. But by the time you're done, you know what that dirt smells like it's nobody's business. You understand these parts of nature. Like what plant is scratchy and noisy, what plant is cool and quiet. And then you can't look at your backyard the same after that because these plants, these animals, these sands, these currents, everything on such an intimate level that you would have never known if you didn't have to do that. Yeah. And so there's something about that hard work that you have to put in to do things, even though you could do it easier, that it gives you character, but it also gives you more connection to this planet, which is really cool.
Do you find yourself eating the fish you catch and make for yourself? Do you find yourself eating it different than if you go to a restaurant and order fish?
I do. I rarely go to restaurants and order fish just because I feel so spoiled in the ingredients I'm able to bring home.
Oh, because what you get is like...
Yeah, and I do have a culinary arts degree, so I also just love to cook.
Oh, I watched your Instagram. Can I tell you, one of my obsessions was that damn lizard that hung out at your house that you'd feed.
Nigel.
Yeah.
I miss him. Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. Like, I don't know. I do think all those little things, because there's a reason I feel that I haven't had pets in a long time because I travel so much that it would just be, I'd love to have a big dog like you have, but I'm gone too much. And yet over the years, I've just picked up all these wild pets, from wild birds that I've tamed to the geckos. I had 2 geckos. One was Gecky, the office gecko, and one was Nigel, the porch gecko. And as they would just crawl on me and whatnot. And people would be like, how do you do that? Exactly. They like honey. And everything from chickens to even a wild boar, Pug.
Really?
Yeah, you gotta watch that. It's in my highlights. His first name was Ballsack because he had a big ball sack. But then I realized that wasn't really appropriate for Instagram, so I named him Pug.
Oh, you haven't seen my Instagram.
Part pig, part dog. but this wild boar just showed up in my yard one day, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna ruin me as a hunter. But yeah, and somehow I got to know him, fed him an avocado, and after that, he would just come for the scratches and the belly rubs. Really? Yeah, you gotta look for my highlights.
I want to talk about the logistics of spear hunting and holding your breath and depths and fish, and I want to talk about your favorite fish. But I kind of want to know what your life's like right now. Like, what's your life like right now, and what's it been like? Like, I want to know about. Maybe the path from being just Kimi, who everyone knew was a spearfisher person. Is that better?
Yeah, you can say whatever.
But to like where you are now, where you're traveling so much, you can't have a pet, and you're public speaking, and I would love to know about that journey from like before I heard of you until today.
Okay, it's been a really interesting evolution. So basically, I pretty much picked up spearfishing at 24. So that's interesting because I told you I got introduced to it at like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But basically that was when my family was poor and that was when we had to do it. By the time I was 7 or 8, my parents were making money. My mom, she went to college when she was 41 for the first time and then got her nursing degree, became a nurse. My dad started making money. So then
Is she Filipino?
She's not.
Joe Coy's got me obsessed that every Filipino is a nurse and every nurse is a Filipino.
Yeah. I haven't heard that one yet.
Oh God. It's next time you go to the doctor, just start looking at name tags. But he's a comedian. Joe Coy's a comedian. He's very, very, very funny. And he comes to Hawaii a lot. I'll get you tickets next time he comes down. Sweet. Both your parents Hawaiian or is one white?
My dad is white.
Okay.
My dad grew up in New Mexico and then California, and then he went to Vietnam. And after the war, then he came to Hawaii. It was all kind of messed up in the head. Was taken in by this Hawaiian family. They taught him to spearfish. He met my mom, who was living in a cow pasture in her car, to tell you the truth. And she was a hippie, and she had just gotten divorced and moved out, and then they hooked up, and then they had us, and
You and your brother?
they had my sister and I.
Your sister. I don't know why I thought you had a brother.
Well, I do have a brother, so that's
Okay.
another long story. I have two brothers. You know, both my parents were married before, so I have an older brother, Richard, who was living in the car with my mom in the cow pasture at the time. And then I have an older brother named Randy, who I only met 10 years ago. So that's a trip. But
Really?
basically, yeah, when my mom was 17, she got pregnant in high school. And, huge dishonor to the family. My mom came from a Japanese family, like
Really?
very, very bad to get pregnant, and she was kicked out of school. She was not, the school wouldn't let her go to school and be a bad example. She was kicked out of the house, and she just came from a really shitty upbringing, to tell you the truth. Like, she was never, like, no one ever told her that they loved her, and she was kind of just like this slave having to work in the pineapple factory and turn over her paychecks to her parents. And basically, when she got pregnant, she got kicked out, only to be told later, like, you can move back in after you have the baby and you go back to work. But we're going to raise this child as your brother, and you're not allowed to tell anyone that it's your son. And my mom was just like, okay, fuck that. I had the most messed up childhood I can imagine. I want to get this baby as far away from this household as possible. And that's what she did. So she gave her baby up for adoption. A story that way later in life, she had me at 36. So way later, she told me this story as soon as I could understand English, and I was obsessed. Like, I was like, we're going to find him one day. We're going to bring him home. Yeah. And, when I was 7 years old, actually, the teacher asked me to write a paper. Who do you want to meet, dead or alive? I said, Abraham Lincoln. Thank him for freeing the slaves. The Earl of Sandwich, to thank him for his awesome invention of the sandwich and show him all the sandwiches in the world. And it was always my brother. And I want to bring my brother home. And, I kind of grew up and realized that might be a silly dream and it might not happen. But 10 years ago, he actually found us. And turns out that he is the chief scientist of NOAA. He of Papahanaumokuakea, which is like the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, the biggest marine national monument reserve in the country. Yeah. He's basically this fish nerd. He is a top dog conservation scientist that has achieved so much. Really? He was adopted by great, wonderful academic parents. As soon as they showed him his way to his ocean, he made the ocean his life. He became this awesome diver, and ended up making his career as a conservation biologist of the highest degree. And yeah, I got a little scared that maybe he'd meet his fish killing sister and not like me, but it turns out he's smart enough to understand that we're on the same side. And yeah, the minute that we met, we just I started off a little awkward, stealing glances at each other. I'm sure vodka helped a little bit, but within no time, we were just in such great conversation, and it was 1 a.m, and we just didn't want the night to end. And for him meeting my mom and becoming part of the family, like it healed her in every way possible. So, well, long story short, yes, I have brothers.
so you start
So basically, yeah. So
hippie
anyway,
mom, white Vietnam vet dad.
Yeah, they start making money. We start living a civilized life. We no longer depend on the ocean for our food. We grow up getting it from restaurants, from stores. Live a very civilized life. Spearfishing seems to be a thing of the past. I grew up. I moved to Oahu. I get my culinary degree.
How old?
I am.
So high school in Maui. At that place, at that high school,
Maui
right by
High.
the big banyan tree.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know that. I when we would shoot, they'd have time to set up, and I'd just take walks.
That's so cool.
And I remember walking by the high school, going like, "So this is where you'd go to school." Wow, how cool would that be? It
was pretty cool. And so I graduated at 18, moved to Oahu, studied culinary arts, graduated at 21, got a job cooking in the restaurant industry. After a while, I just realized I'm freaking miserable. And I just couldn't figure out why. I'm like, this is going to be it for the rest of my life. Like,
my God. How many times have people said that to themselves?
Man.
Is this it for the rest of my life?
Yeah. And I was just like, I don't know what it is, but I'm not happy.
That might be the base of all big decisions you make in your life, of you sitting there going, So is this it for the rest of, that should be on a coffee mug. So is this it for the rest of my life?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask yourself.
I was on, not to derail podcast and talk about myself so fucking much. On my first TV show, I was making money. I had a deal. I had my second television deal. I had a great car. I had everything you wanted in Hollywood. I've been a stand-up for 6 months, got discovered by Will Smith. I'm now on a TV show that's nightly. I'm meeting celebrities. I'm in my car. I'm in a Jason Williams jersey when he played for the Kings. I have a brand new SUV. The weather's perfect. I'm listening to Ja Rule. I'm taking a left off Franklin, and I just think to myself, so is this it for the rest of my life? And I got really depressed.
Yeah,
I'd accomplished all my dreams, but they weren't fulfilling.
Right. Yep.
And then when I met my wife, we were broke, had no money. I remember skateboarding home with a gallon of milk at night and thinking to myself, I could do this forever.
Exactly.
And you're like, wow, how crazy that like when you're happy, you're in it. You're like, this is what I want. But when you're not happy, you can get caught in that thought of,
it's so true.
So it's just this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you derail to tell that story, because that is the same story. It's like, it's all, I just think it's so relevant. And the exact same thing kind of happened to me as I got to the end of accomplishing all these things. And then I'm like, oh, like, I'm not stoked on this. And so the more I started doing this soul searching, like, what is it that you need, Kimi, to make you happy? The more I just saw these memories of free diving with my dad at 5, at, foraging on land, like for food with my mom at 5. And I was just like, damn, that was when I was the happiest, was when we were dirt ass poor. Yeah. And I had nature and I had family and we were getting food and I understood where it came from. Right now I'm working in a restaurant industry, working with these frozen fillets and things that I have no connection to. I might be making money, but this is not fulfilling. And that was when I realized, like, I need to see what this is about, because I just thought it was nostalgia. Mm-hmm. I thought that type of lifestyle did not exist anymore. It was a thing of the past. I was lucky to experience it, but it's not for this modern world. Yeah. And then one day I just remember seeing these guys throw down these fish on the barbecue. And I just realized, like, that's not the fish that I work with in the restaurant. And those aren't the fish I see in the supermarket. Those are the fish that I know by heart. Those are the fish that my dad would catch, that my mom would help me clean and cook and whatnot. And I asked them, where'd you get this? And they said, spearfishing. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I used to go spearfishing. Will you take me? And then I realized, no one ever called, because I realized I'm like, when I was 5, I used to go, call me, you know? And so, of course, nobody called. I was a liability to them. But I was obsessed, like the same way you are. And I was just like, I have to see about this. And if they're not going to call me, I'm just going to go. And so I went out. I got a 3-prong spear, like the kind they use in the Bahamas. Not a spear gun, no trigger mechanism. Simple, primitive, 3 prongs on one end, rubber band on the other end. You pull the rubber band, you let it go, it fly like 3 feet underwater. And I drove out to the North Shore. I was living in the city at the time, but I drove all the way to the North Shore, got in the water. I remember walking across the beach and there were people on the beach looking at me, this girl with a spear. And I felt so embarrassed because I just felt like, oh, they know I have no idea what I'm doing.
That is the number one hurdle to achieving anything in life is that embarrassment of like, it's the reason I don't do a lot of things. Yeah. It's because the embarrassment of going like, is someone going to say, hey man, you're not allowed to spearfish here? Or, hey man, they don't let paddle boards out here. You can't surf here. Exactly. And you just go, I don't want to be the guy. Oh my God.
And so I was like trying to hide my spear and just like, and then I get in the water hoping it will all go
Pretending
away.
It's a metal detector as you walk on the beach.
Yeah. And the anxiety just got worse. I got in the water. I'm like, I really don't have any idea what I'm doing. It's not just what people looking at me thought of me. It's true. I start swimming and I'm just like, it's like a kind of a dirty, rough day to be out. And anyway, I keep swimming. I'm at a point where I'm so stressed out. I just want to turn around and go home. I think this is a dumb idea. And then for whatever reason, this white cap, this wind swell kind of breaks in the distance and I see bubbles. And as soon as I see bubbles, I just feel this calm come over me. And it triggered this memory that I realized is that sometimes when I was 5 years old trying to keep up with my dad, I'd see a pretty turtle or something. I'd get distracted, look up, look around. Dad's nowhere in sight. I didn't do my job of keeping up. I'm scared as shit. All of a sudden, I'd have to look at the very edge of my vision. And as long as I could see the bubbles left by his fins, I'd be, swim that way, And so
God.
that's what I would do. Yeah, he wasn't the safest, father.
No, but what a great. I wish that my daughters had just an ounce of that self-reliability to go. Like if my daughters were like, I followed a turtle, I'm fucked. I might as well just drown myself.
Yeah. It's like, then even as like a grown woman, 24 years old, I see the bubbles and I'm like, safety, even though it's a mental trick, all of a sudden I feel this calm come over my body as if like swim that way, everything's going to be okay. And then that's what I started doing. I started just tricking myself. I started either following bubbles that were not left by my dad's fins, but made me feel better, or just imagining bubbles or just imagining my dad's silhouette, because when I was 5, I had this, thought that as long as he was there, nothing bad could happen to me. And before I knew it, first from doing that, just to keep myself calm and keep myself swimming, I end up coming across this reef. I look down, lo and behold, are those little fish. And I just tried trial and error, up and down, over and over again, all day, failing, but finally succeeding. And by the end of the day, I had caught these 5 little fish. They don't get much bigger than like 5 or 6 inches. Yeah. But man, the woman that came out of the water that day, totally different woman than the one that walked in.
Everyone should get to have that journey.
High.
Everyone should get to have that.
I felt like a freaking lioness, like coming back with my catch and like just feeling so self-sufficient and satisfied. And then to go home and cook those fish the way I remembered how to and share it with my roommates. It was just like, it was exactly your gallon of milk skateboarding moment. Like I could do this for the rest of my life. I don't give I don't care if I'm not happy with my job. I don't care if I don't have everything together. As long as I have this, I can do this for the rest of my life and I can be happy.
Wow.
And so that was when I just said, I'm never letting go of this again. And I went into it, full on. And then soon, those other divers started calling because I started showing up at barbecues with my own fish to contribute. And then I got partners and then I learned more and more and more. And then I fell into the hands of these super elite divers that had been national champions, and they saw potential in me and they said, we're going to train you. And I got really lucky with them because they were the best mentors in the world. And they're the ones, because I didn't know, my dad, he wouldn't dive like 100 feet and like shoot these huge fish. He was just trying to survive.
Yeah.
These guys, they taught me what the human body can really accomplish.
That is my hurdle. Like, not one of my many millions of hurdles in this whole process, but like, holding your breath is, so when you first started, how long could you hold your breath for?
Oh, I would say probably like 40 seconds, not long.
I held my breath for a minute yesterday. I was swimming back and forth. I swim back and forth in my pool to see how many times I can go, and I try to just build it. Every day I swim back and forth. It's a ritual. But now I'm going back and forth, and then I started seeing, I used to be able to hold my breath for a minute and 30 seconds.
Nice.
And then
while swimming. No. Okay.
Yeah, very, very different. I know.
Yeah.
But the other day I did it. I was like, I bet I can do it for a minute. Just go back and forth. But so when you started, you were at 45 seconds.
Well, I mean, when I was hunting, I would guess that's where I'm at, because you have to like kick down to the bottom of the ocean. You have to load your 3-prong and hold it with your muscles, which is then burning all your oxygen. You have to wedge yourself in between these rocks and get close to fish. And so doing all of that makes it a lot shorter. So I would guess, I would guess when I first started.
And how deep is that? Like, that's just like 15 feet?
I was probably going about 15 feet. Yeah. Because I remember when I started going 25, I felt really proud of myself.
25 feet is so deep.
And then I started learning from these guys. And then before I knew it, I was holding my breath, for over 2 minutes, and I was going over 100 feet. And it was just like ridiculous game changer. I mean, everything about them, the way that they moved and their finesse, like everything, it just taught me the art of like, of being smooth, of slowing down. And, I think once you see something is possible, it makes it so much more possible for you to achieve. And so being able to shadow them changed my whole life. And after a few years of diving with them, I just really wanted to follow in their footsteps. So I just said, hey, I want to enter the national championship. I want to see what that's about. And
it's just free diving?
So it's a spearfishing one. So it's
Wait,
free.
spearfishing.
Yeah,
So wait, what is this?
So yeah, right. So there's a freediving spearfishing national championships, and basically it goes to a different. It rotates around to different states every year. Sometimes it's in California. I did one out here in Malibu. Sometimes it's in Hawaii. Sometimes it's in Florida. But the year that I said, I'm ready, I want to do this, it was in Rhode Island. It was in Newport, Rhode Island. So, yes. And so all of my guys were just like, Kimmy, just wait till it comes to California. Wait till it comes to Hawaii. I'm like, no, I'm ready now. And they're like, okay, first of all, you don't have money. It's going to cost you a lot of money just to fly there. It's in Newport, Rhode Island. It's an expensive place to get housing. You're going to have to stay there to scout and figure it out. But more than anything, it is nothing like diving Hawaii. And and I was stubborn and determined, and I just said, no, I'm ready now. And so I did it. So what's
the competition entail?
So basically, it's like a scavenger hunt. So you have a kayak. That's your mode of transportation. They blow this horn, and you're supposed to have scouted out the grounds. So then you know where you're paddling.
You already scouted out the grounds. So you got to get to Rhode Island like a week before.
Yeah, but I couldn't afford to. So I got there 4 days before the tournament. You should get there like a couple weeks before, really. Yeah. But like, I got there 4 days before and then got in the water to scout and realized these guys are absolutely, this is my first time diving outside of Hawaii, okay? Like biting off a little more than I could chew. And I could not even see my own fins. The water was so dirty. It was cold. I was having to wear a 5 mil wetsuit, which I wasn't used to at all, Yeah. Like for me, that felt really thick and buoyant. And anytime I even tried to like dive down to the bottom, I couldn't even get there because I'd get scared because it was so different, in Hawaii.
So dark.
I was used to clear water, swimming on the surface, being able to see the bottom, see the fish, plan my drops accordingly. Over here, I'm diving into the darkness, into these cold thermoclines. And then I would see this layer of green. I'd be like, hey, Kimmy, there's the bottom. Hold on. You're almost there. And I'd go right through it. It was just another thermocline. And then I'd see brown. I'd be like, there it is. And I'd go right through it. And I'd always turn around, go up to the surface, gasping for air. And I'm like, man, I am so out of my league. But finally, after trying for a whole day, pretty much, I just told myself, stop expecting like when that bottom's going to come and just trust that it's going to come. And I made it to the bottom. And when I did, there's mussels in Rhode Island, which we don't have in Hawaii, and they filter the water. They're all over the bottom. They filter the water so I could see.
So it's clear at the bottom?
At the bottom, it's so clear because the mussels filter the water. It was amazing. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, I can see. I can do this. And then I learned a different skill, which was to listen because the fish eat the mussels. So I could hear them chomping before I could even see them. And I could hear where they're going to come from. And so in the next few days, I just learned to scout like that. And 4 days later, I became a national champion. And so that changed my life a lot. I kind of came home and was treated like this hero, and all of a sudden, like I'm on the covers of magazines and getting interviewed for the morning shows, and then people don't think I'm so crazy anymore. And then after a while, I start getting a little bit of support, people wanting to like pay for me to go and get my plane ticket or give me spear guns, stuff that, I didn't have access to before. And by this time I had quit my culinary arts job, and I was trying to survive off of being a painter, an artist, because that gave me the freedom to dive whenever the water was good, and bail and just dive. But of course, that doesn't make a lot of money. But now after becoming the national champion, my paintings are selling. So it just seems like, wow, all my dreams are coming true. And then that's what I did for the next few years is I just competed and I got, better and better. I got to travel the world. And it really seemed like, man, maybe I can even like get paid, like get sponsors and like make a living off of this completely instead of having to work 2 jobs.
I can help you get a flip-flop sponsorship.
but basically after like almost 2 years at this, same thing happened. Not happy. And I just and I just realized like it's the same thing. Like, is this really what's making you happy? And it wasn't. I was traveling to all these places, now getting there a month in advance. But all I was doing was scouting. All I was doing was going in there to train for one day of shooting a bunch of fish and going home with a trophy. I wasn't getting to know the culture. I wasn't getting to know the food. I wasn't even getting to eat the fish. Like, I mean, it's fine. I'm not against it. It doesn't go to waste. It all gets donated and whatnot. But it just it wasn't that same feeling of satisfaction that I had from that first day, you know, and it wasn't ever the same satisfaction I had from that first tournament either. And I realized I was kind of chasing something that wasn't exactly me. And that even when I came home just to go 3-prong and get food in my, you know, my backyard like I used to, my brain couldn't help but be like, how many points would that fish be worth? How many points would this fish be worth? And that's just not what the ocean was to me. That's not why I learned this. And I just realized this is not, if I'm losing my happiness from the ocean, it's time to walk away. And so that's what I did. I quit competition. I felt like a big failure. I just really felt like I sucked and was a quitter. And I just thought, well, there's no way you're going to make a career out of this now. But I took some time off and I just thought about like, what do I want to do? And I realized, okay, I want to get back into doing this for food. And so, yeah, so I started like getting my own food, planted a garden, you know, and started really like saying what's important to you. And one thing that I realized is the ocean that I knew at 5 years old didn't look the same as it now did. You know, I was like now 28 years old. And because there's a big gap, I could really see a difference. And I'm like, yeah, the reef is a different color. The fish stocks are different. Like, what's going on? And I wanted to learn why. And so from then on, whenever I did save up money to take a trip, this time I'm like, I just want to travel. I want to meet the locals. I want to hang out. I don't want to just do it for a trophy. I want to cook fish over an open fire with them. I also want to ask them questions about how they manage their fisheries, how they see things going. And that was when I learned all about all this environmental stuff that I didn't know. I didn't know about microplastic pollution. I didn't know about water runoff. I didn't know about climate change.
Water runoff's interesting.
Know? Yeah.
Water runoff, that's a problem in Hawaii, correct?
It's a problem, yeah, in a lot of places, but definitely Hawaii.
We did something in Hawaii.
It's like the number one killer of reefs in Hawaii. Basically, yeah, if we don't have a watershed, if we don't have nature, you know, when it rains, the way nature's designed trees and plants and, you know, native plants and stuff like that is to absorb all the water, filter it, you know, take a slow time. By the time it gets to the ocean, it's coming out at a pace and like at a level that the ocean can handle it. If we just develop everything and it rains and that just it's hitting concrete, it's just taking all the chemicals and heavy metals and all of that and rushing into the ocean at a speed that the ocean can't handle. And then it settles, you know, on the reefs and all the sediment happens. And then we get like invasive algae blooms, and just that sediment alone kills the reefs, which kills fish. And it's really happening everywhere. And that's another reason too why it's just like, you know, even like with certain types of industrial farming, it's really bad for water runoff. And so it's like the more traditional styles of farming are good because of the way that biodiverse climate, you know, changes things. But this is all stuff I didn't know, and it's really complex and, you know, and whatnot. But I got to learn about all of these things and kind of started just sharing it just because I cared about the ocean. And as I shared it, I just got an even bigger following. And then before I knew it, I started getting sponsors that I would have never got otherwise. You know, Patagonia was my first sponsor.
A great sponsor.
They're such a good one. And yeah, so they're my very first sponsor to sign me, and I'm with Yeti now. I already have a flip-flop company.
Who's your flip-flop company?
Olukai. I love them so much.
I'm not a fan of Olukai.
I am. They're great for Hawaii. That's like, yeah. And
is Olukai a Hawaiian brand?
They are based off of the culture of Hawaii, and they do a good job. Traeger grills.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
Traeger grills are awesome.
They're a great one.
Rogan swears by his Traeger.
Man, it's the best for wild game. That's why.
Really?
It's just amazing. I don't understand it. It's like sorcery, but like sometimes, you know, these wild game and venison, they're delicious meats, but they can be tough to grill. Yeah. They can be too lean, too dry, whatever. Somehow that Traeger, it just can't go wrong. Like you can't screw it up.
Who else are your sponsors? Traeger, Olukai,
Rife International. So they're my spearfishing sponsor. They like make my fins, my mask, my spear guns, everything.
Really? Do you have that mask? Do you have that mask where it's just little eyeballs in it, or do you use a full mask?
I use a full mask.
Why do they use my daughter bought a freaking little tiny mask with just little eye slits, and it looks like a villain's mask. You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe it's just a low volume Mask.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. I'd have to see
Isla
it.
just saw it and liked it and was like, I want this mask. And then we all go snorkeling and I'm like, wait, your mask looks ridiculous. She's like, I like it. It's more sleek.
Maybe it is.
She likes that mask. I love, I bought the same exact mask 3 times. It's a big, I forget the name of it. But so who's that? Rife?
Rife International. They're based out of California. And Jay Rife, he's a legendary diver, and he started the whole company, and just really great spear guns, great family.
Pull up some Rife
business.
gear. By the way, I could totally, this is my personality. I could totally go into a shop and buy all spearfishing gear and never use it.
It's cool stuff
climbing
to have.
gear. I have like high-end climbing gear. I've been climbing.
You should
4
then.
times.
You should definitely have some spearfishing gear in here with how obsessed
it would
you
look
are.
so good.
It would look really cool.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's Rife International. And then Almavara sunscreen. They're like a reef safe sunscreen. June Shine is a hard kombucha company, and Kona Brew Beer is a great beer company.
Kombucha?
Yeah, but hard kombucha. So
with alcohol in it.
No, but it's not like they take kombucha and they mix it. It's
no.
But they ferment it to the point where it becomes.
I love those.
It's awesome.
Those are the best. What's the name of this company?
June Shine.
June Shine. Google June Shine real quick.
They're new, and I'm just telling you.
June Shine, and then what's your beer sponsor?
Kona Brew.
June Shine.
Look at that, like
June Shine.
Yeah,
I'm getting June Shine right now.
No, you really,
can
really
I
have
can
to.
order it on Amazon, can I?
Yes, and it's like it is. It's really good, and it's just
I love hard kombucha.
Yeah, it
is so great.
It's so good. Like when they first approached me, I thought like, oh, they probably like are mixing it with vodka, and that sounds weird. But no, you pop one open, and it's like it's not too sweet. It's just like a really good brew. It's delicious.
I have at the store. I'm trying to. At the store next to me, they have hard kombucha, June Shine, and I got one, and I'm changing my lifestyle a little bit. I will say I do because I haven't not yet, but I drink on planes. I've always drank on planes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm changing that, but one of my favorite things was to have a hard kombucha on the ride to the airport. Because it doesn't look like a beer. It doesn't look like it's a kombucha. I'm being healthy. I'm a health nut. You know who introduced me to kombucha was Gabby Reese.
Oh, cool.
I did a
they
pilot
know about
with her.
health. Yeah.
She was like, oh yeah, she's. I mean, I only met her this one day. We shot this pilot, and I think I was having a bagel, and she was like, "That's not food, by the way." I was like, "What?" She's like, "That's not food. That's not." You're not putting food in your. I know you think you're eating food. That's not food. And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "It's not food." And was like, she's very insightful,
right?
About that kind of stuff. And I think I'm obsessed with Laird Hamilton. I mean, what man isn't? He's just like the ultimate guy. His ankle's crazy weird. Have you ever seen his ankle?
No, I haven't.
If you ever meet Laird Hamilton, look at his ankle. I saw it on Rogan, and I was like. Sometimes you should go to a doctor. So you get all your sponsors. Do you have an agent?
I don't.
So they just call you up. June Shine's like,
I've done everything by myself, and that's been interesting. But that's how
I wonder
I've
if an
done
agent
it.
would fuck that up or make it better.
I've been always a little hesitant, but I'm open to getting an agent. I just really feel like it has to be the right person, because what I do is just so not mainstream. Like I don't really fall into one neat little category that I think a lot of agents are used to. You know, like a lot of times, even with these sponsors and these teams, it's like I'll get put on like the pro surf team, but it's like I'm not a pro surfer. I'm this spearfishing girl, you know, that's doing something totally different. And so I think it's a unique thing to market, and I'd love to have the right agent helping me, but and I'm not gonna just sign with anyone who doesn't get it, because I do feel like it would fuck everything up.
I think a lot of it, what it would take was you explaining to them how to get it.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd get it at first.
Right.
Even me, with not so much my agents and managers, but with people that I bring on my team, they don't get certain things that I just go, yeah, but that's not me. That rubs me wrong.
Exactly.
Like perfect example, I tell everyone to go to a bar after the show usually, and we drink.
Mm-hmm.
And so then this one person on my team was like, hey, we're going to do that. We're going to do that with this bar. This bar said they'll open up and they're going to charge a $10 cover, which you get to keep. And I was like, no, that's not what this is about.
Exactly.
This isn't about making money. It's about being there for people that really appreciate what I do and letting them hang out and tell me, take a picture or tell me whatever they want to tell me. And, you know,
I think that's so important, you know, for all these companies that I just named that, you know, I have relationships with, like, there's just so many I said no to because it's just like, sorry, like, I know that sounds like success, but that is not me. And it would crush my soul to pretend that it is, you know, I just, and so, yeah, I think as long as someone gets that or you can communicate that, it's important because I do think what you say no to is just as important, maybe even more than what you say yes to. And it has to be authentic to who you truly are. I think that's one thing I learned about my journey is that I always have to kind of reevaluate and say, is this completely authentic to who I am? Is what I'm doing, you know, really serving me? And again, it doesn't matter if you're hanging out with superstars or skateboarding with your gallon of milk. Like the answer is something only you can answer. And it might not make sense as according to like society, but I still think if you follow that inner pull, it's going to lead you to some form of success and happiness.
Do you feel like you are in a place now where you go, well, I could do this for the rest of my life? Well,
I mean, I feel like everything's always constantly evolving. And so with all these, you know, sponsors and great opportunities, it's been awesome. I've been able to travel the world, you know, every single continent, every single ocean.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm curious what spearfishing is like around the world.
It's different
and diving
everywhere. And that's what I love about it is because the minute I think like I've got it all figured out, then all of a sudden, you know, I'm in the Arctic about to go ice diving for the first time. And I just realized like I'm scared all over again. And I don't know if I'm ready for this. And all these questions are going through my mind, you know, like, because I'm going to dive in a wetsuit now underneath the ice. And I haven't really heard of people doing that. It's not a dry suit, it's a wetsuit. Like what's going to happen to this exposed part of my face? Is
this you
hurt?
Doing that?
That is not me, but you will find there's definitely a lot if you look. Oh yeah, they thought that was me because they're the same photographer that shot me. If you look at Kimi Werner ice diving, maybe, I don't know. But basically, but yeah, all these questions started going through my head. Is it going to hurt? Like, what's going to happen to my breath? You know, we had set up camp, you know, with tents like an hour away because we're basically at this. We're on Baffin Island in the Arctic at this place called the Floe Edge, and that's basically where our Inuit friends drag us in these sleds on their snowmobiles out to the Floe Edge where the ice is breaking off and melting, and that's how you can get in the ocean. But our camp has to be set up an hour sled ride away because the whole ice shelf could break and we could be afloat. And so now I'm thinking like, man, if I jump in, you know, and I get too cold and I get out, it's still an hour sled ride back to the tent. Like, am I going to make it? All these questions. How deep can polar bears dive? You know, because I see polar bear tracks everywhere and whatnot. Jesus, and
you have my brain. I'm up the night before going, okay, but what if? Oh my God.
But that's what makes it like exciting again, you know? And I mean, even that first day I was like, okay, you know what? I don't think I'm ready. I have to find out these answers first. I talked to the Inuit people. I learned things. Yeah, that's Antarctica. So that was the bottom of the world.
That's you in Antarctica?
Yeah, with the penguin.
Oh my God.
But yeah, the Arctic pictures are pretty cool. And yeah, and the next day I went out, okay, I'm ready. You know, at least I have some answers. Like I have some ideas. I set up a tent by the Floe Edge. We have now a pot that we're going to use a little stove. We're going to boil some snow so that when I come out, at least I can like mix it to a warm temperature, get warm, dry off in the tent, change for that hour sled ride. I found out the polar bears can actually dive about, 20 feet and hold their breath for almost 2 minutes, which isn't the most reassuring thing, but I think I got them beat on that.
You just go deeper. You just, oh my God.
Just keep going.
Can you imagine getting 20 feet down going, is that a fucking polar bear?
I have to deal with this. And then I got in the water and I realized the rest of my, answers was that, yes, it hurts like hell. Like it feels like a million needles are stabbing my face and it feels like the worst ice cream headache of my life. That is the Arctic.
Is that you?
Yeah. And that's
This is my
like,
first time exploring the deep end then.
yep, that is it. But then your head goes numb and then you have your window to dive. And then I just saw these beautiful creatures right away. If you were to look up sea angels, these little iridescent like aliens came up to me and just were so beautiful. And I was just mesmerized by these things called sea angels. And then I started diving under. Oh, see, aren't those cool?
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they're just like little alien butterfly saying hello, and then you dive under. Aren't they so cute?
Oh my God, that would blow my mind,
right? And so then all of a sudden you're just like you're in this land, this magical place. The pain's not hurting you anymore. You're just looking at that, diving under the ice and just seeing all the different colors and shapes. And I turn around and narwhals swim by.
Narwhals are real.
They're real. They're real.
I was with my daughters in Bali and I saw a video of narwhals and I was like, hey, narwhals are real.
It's
and
crazy
they were like,
how many people said that. Yeah.
Georgia said, my oldest goes, I can't believe you're my dad. And she's like, you just found out they're real. I go, that's the weirdest. You saw narwhals?
Yes.
Shut up.
So yeah, talk about rainbows and unicorns that day. Like it was everything. Absolutely everything. They're crazy. Their tusk, their unicorn horn is like 8 feet long. Like they're big animals.
Yeah.
But they're just so beautiful, so cool. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so really it's been quite an adventure. Being able to travel and see all these things, and it really, I think, has kept my passion quite refreshed because it keeps me curious, keeps me curious, keeps me scared, keeps me all of these things that have been amazing. And then recently I also found out that I'm pregnant, and so
congratulations.
Thank you. So now I just feel like, okay, here's a whole nother turn of the evolution. Here's a whole nother adventure. Yeah. And so and it's cool because when I found out, I went to the doctor. I took a pregnancy test at home, and then I went to the doctor. You go there and you confirm it. You take a pregnancy test there to make it official. Yeah. And as soon as she said, like, okay, yes, you're definitely pregnant. And I said, okay, so I've got this gig coming up, this job that I said yes to. She's like, when is it? Said November. I'm due in January. She's just like already kind of shaking her head. She said, where is it? I'm like, oh, it's back in the Arctic, And she's just like looking at me. I'm like, I'll be staying on a boat. She's like, why are you going up there? I'm like, to free dive in the Arctic. She's like, why? And I was like, to swim with killer whales. And
you're doing that?
I did it last year, but I got a job offer, a paid job offer to go do it again. And as soon as I said that, she's just like, no. What? Like, absolutely not. Like, you're not getting on a plane and even leaving this country at that point. You're not going to the Arctic and living on a boat. You're not going free diving in these icy waters, and you're not going to swim with killer whales. And when she said that, I was just like, cool, fine. Yeah. I was just asking. And it was neat because I think that was when I knew, like, I think I'm ready, because I really didn't even have a regret. I mean, and that was what the trip I was looking forward to most this whole year.
Yeah.
But I also did it already. And it was the most amazing experience ever, swimming with those crazy killer whales. That was freaky, man. Was really cool.
My buddy John Mans just did it in, I want to say, somewhere in
Norway.
Yeah. Was it Norway?
Yeah.
And he did it, and it looked spectacular.
It is so crazy.
One thing he said, they kept saying was, don't get caught up in the krill. Right. Because, like, is that right? Like,
well, when they're in hunting mode, it's just insane. Like, it's just like, whoosh, whoosh. They are so fast and they're swimming in all directions. Like, it's pretty crazy. Like, at first, we would just kind of jump in, and these pods of orcas would pass us by, and it would just be like, whoa, like, those are the apex predators of the world. Of the world. Like, they eat great white sharks.
I heard the story of one of them attacked a great white shark off the coast of somewhere in near San Francisco, and they said all the great whites left. They were like,
they know who the king is. That's for sure. It's the orca.
But for some reason, orcas are cool around people.
Orcas are really cool around people. I mean, and that's, and as much as you hear that, it still is, intimidating to get in the water because I also, my friend Perrin one time jumped in with orcas in Panama, and he said that they're just like crunching turtles just for fun, just crunching them and letting them sink. Every once in a while, going down and grabbing their guts and intestines and swirling them around and playing with them and then letting them sink. And so you hear stories like that, and it still makes you feel a little
crunching them just for fun,
just crunching them. Yeah, must feel good on their teeth or something. But there are different species of orcas, and some are mammal eaters and some are fish eaters. So the ones in Norway at least are the fish eaters.
What about I'm trying to, by the way, I'm pitching you a business plan for me. So what about when you have the baby, right?
Right.
You set up like high-end spearfishing guides where people can go out with you for the day, and when they pay good and you take them out spearfish. Do you like how I'm just setting this up so that I can go spearfishing with you?
We can definitely go spearfishing together.
I want to go spearfishing with you so bad, but I think I have a lot to do.
I have already told you that.
I know. But I feel like I have a lot to do to get there.
No.
Like, I feel like
No. Like I've held little, spearfishing retreats in Bali where I've had groups.
We just got back from Bali.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
It's great.
It's really nice there.
We floated They took us out to see. I told you I'm bad with names. I can tell you everywhere in Hawaii because I love sharing Hawaii with people. I'm obsessed with Hawaii, but like we went out to some island off the coast, this little island that everyone goes to, and we kind of floated this reef.
Right.
And it was awesome. My wife has a very, very, very big connection with snorkeling. It sounds so silly. When we first met, we were talking about like what we loved to do. She was like, I love snorkeling. And snorkeling was such a thing in growing up in Florida that you were like, it's kind of what tourists did. Right. They snorkel. So you're like, yeah, you dive down. I mean, we didn't consider it snorkeling.
Right.
My wife's like, I could snorkel for hours.
I just love the name. It just sounds so darky when you just say it, like snorkel as a verb. But yeah, I love snorkeling.
And when we first got married, when we first got married, she was so wanted to go find places to snorkel.
That's awesome.
Snorkeling. And my daughters love snorkeling, and so when we went, we floated this reef, and my wife was the happiest she had ever, just so happy ear to ear. It was such a great day. Bali's gorgeous.
It is. It is. And yeah, I've held like a couple of like these spearfishing like retreats there where seriously, like the whole group that I get, they're like complete beginners. Some of them even had like traumatic experiences in the water. And so I think because my whole learning experience, if you really think about it, I mean, talk about Karate Kid. Like, if I'm a teacher, I'm Mr. Miyagi. Like, you're going to wax on, wax off for a very long time before you even touch a spear, Yeah. And that's how I like to do it, because if you think about my life, I was a tag along for years before I touched a spear. Then I had this whole gap of regular life. Then I'm 24 by the first time I touch my sword or whatever, and step into my calling. And so if you think I would rather just put a spear gun in your hand and watch you go, I'm going to be like, oh, you are learning how to spearfish, Bert. Like, that's what I did with my boyfriend. My boyfriend's from Minnesota.
No.
Yes. Isn't that kind of funny? And we met on the road. He was a snowboarding cinematographer. We hit it off, fell in love. Basically, he ended up moving to Hawaii to start a life with me. And, there's not much snow in Hawaii, so there goes his career.
Yeah.
But it turns out that now, I taught him how to free dive, and now he's like one of the best freediving cinematographers. And he's this boy from Minnesota, but it wasn't a sudden thing. It was very, very Mr. Miyagi. It was like, well, first we're going to swim, and
just
that's
like in the North Shore.
Exactly.
When he takes him out and he goes, first, we're going to swim YMA. And he was
exactly. That's what we did. I mean, it's relevant. And we're going to, work on your ears, things like that. We're going to work on your form. I don't care how deep you're going. If you look like, if you look like a monkey, it's not nice. It's not
Yeah.
good. And then we're gonna just go to these like marine reserves, places where you don't even spearfish, and we're just gonna study the fish, and we're gonna study their body language. Then I'm gonna start to test you. What fish is this? That one that swam up to you, was it big enough to shoot or was it too small? It's like we took such a long time. But now I put a spear in the boy's hand, he can get dinner, but for the most part, that's my job. And he'd rather have a camera in his hand, which is way cool because what I ended up doing without knowing it is I ended up like taking this guy and like molding him from scratch, because he didn't even grow up by an ocean. So he had no previous experience, but therefore no bad habits. And I kind of just molded him into the perfect cinematographer who understands exactly how I move, how I hunt, how not to mess up any of my shots. I can just you don't talk underwater. I can look at him. He knows where to be, where to line up, what angle to get, and it's just and then before I do it, I had this great cinematographer, and now we could team up and really get stuff done together. But
wow.
But the moral of the story is, in order, I think, for you to get good, I believe in learning slowly, learning everything, not skipping steps. You start with a 3-prong before you even start with a spear gun. That's my rule. So
my goal in my spearfishing journey. At 55, I'm 46 right now. At 55, I'm going to be a very different man than I am today. I'm going to be a lot skinnier. I planned on that already. I will be in bottomless ocean, diving down 100 feet, and I'm going to spear a tuna who's going to take me for a ride for a mile until I just have this vision of these this real Ernest Hemingway-esque man in the sea where I fight this tuna and I fight the sharks off to get the tuna back to the boat, and when I get back to the boat a storm comes in and I make it to but I fantasize about it. It just seems so cool.
It is so cool.
Can you spearfish tuna?
I do, but just so you know, when you spearfish tuna, you're set up totally differently because you don't want a tuna. I've had mahis, I've had wahoos, other things like that. They can take you for a ride. You don't want a tuna to take you for a ride.
Why?
Because tunas sound. Their way of fighting is they just go down. And so your ride is not going to involve, that's called dying. And so basically, when you're going to spearfish tuna, what you do is you set up your gun a little differently. Yeah. You can still dive 100 feet and shoot one. That part.
Is that where they live?
That's where I got my first one. Yeah.
Wait, so tell me about your first tuna.
My first tuna was in Cabo, and
oh my God, you were in Cabo?
Yeah.
Oh, what a great place. Okay, keep going.
And it was with the Rife International team, and basically, we were there looking for tuna, but they just weren't. I mean, they were in, but they were just too deep. They were deeper than you can go freediving, and there's all this murk and thermocline. You couldn't see them, So you're just diving down and waiting and whatnot. And
how do you know you're at 100 feet? Do you have a watch that tells you? Okay, keep going.
And so sometimes you just drop a little chum and you wait and you go down and nothing. And finally, on the last day of the trip, when everybody was about to give up, it was day 10 and we were totally skunked. I ended up just taking this drop and just saying, I'm just gonna go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I went to, it was actually 98 feet. I remember exactly, but I went to 98 feet. And all of a sudden, it was like seeing a unicorn. It was before my narwhal experience. So this was always my unicorn because I had never seen a yellowfin tuna underwater. And I just saw it swim by, and then another one was coming. And I shot, it was I think 130 pounds, that fish.
It's bigger than you.
That was my first tuna. But basically the way you do it is your shaft of your gun, the arrow or whatever you want to call it, it goes out the spear, it goes through the tuna. There's a shooting line that's usually connected to your gun. So normally when you shoot a fish, you're connected and you fight your fish up. With the tuna, again, you don't want to do that. It's going to sound. So when you're going for tuna, your shooting line, instead, it's connected to a bungee, 100-foot bungee, and it's connected to floats. And so when you shoot your spear, it completely detaches from your spear gun. So now you have to hold on to your spear gun, but it's not connected to anything. You go back up for air. That tuna sounds down hundreds and hundreds of feet. That bungee stretches to the point where you think it's going to snap because those tunas are so
so
strong.
So you as you swim up, you see that little buoy.
As you swim up, you see your buoys. You need buoys. If you're gonna go for big fish, like you need a couple of buoys, and you see your first one just go underwater. And if it was just one, sometimes it would just keep going. I have seen that happen, and that's really sad. But so now I use 2 with another bungee in between them. And so you see that first one go down, and your second one will tombstone, just stand straight up, and then you just took a long.
Is this your tuna?
Yeah, that was a little bigger one later. That wasn't my first one. That's a 163-pound yellowfin. Oh, such a good feeling. But yeah, and then you go to your buoys, and then it's just a fight. So you still get to fight your fish, but you still get to breathe. So
you're holding on to the buoys, swimming them back to the boat.
So you're not swimming them back to the boat. You go to your buoys, and you just grab that bungee. You can even like flop over a buoy if you want to. I normally don't, but you just grab that bungee and you just start fighting, and you just start pulling, and it's hard. Like that's a big heavy fish, and it's pulling down. And you're pulling up. So it's still pulling you underneath. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, that's why sometimes people just like lay on their buoys and fight it, because when you're doing it, it's still going to be pulling you underneath, but you're not attached to it. And so that's good. And so you're fighting and you're fighting and fighting. Your arms are burning, your adrenaline's going. And basically,
how far is the boat from you?
The boat can at this time, they're usually coming right next to you and watching the action and cheering you on and whatnot. And then you fight this tuna up to whatever depth that you can dive to. If you can dive 100 feet at this point in your game, you can cut that in half because you're so exhausted and you're so pumped up that you cannot hold your breath anymore. And so as you fight this thing up, and then you take your there's a clip on your buoy, you clip off wherever you're fighting it to. So now that fish is at 50 feet. And then you ask your boat for a backup gun, just a little reef gun, because now your job is to swim down and shoot that fish in the brain.
Yeah, what's that called? What's that called when you brain a fish?
People call it a stone shot.
Stone shot.
Stoning
that's it.
Yeah. And so basically your second shot, that wasn't my first. Those are my boys. That's it. But basically, then you go down and that fish sees you and it's doing these circles, and you have to be careful because it's really dangerous. Like that line, that bungee can get wrapped around you, because all tunas do is they do these circles when they sound. And so they're doing these circles. And if you're going out at the wrong angle, you can get wrapped up in your line. And then if that fish decides to sound again, you're gone. And so you go down and you try and get a good angle. You know, it already has a spear in it, and you just want to put it out and shoot it in the brain, and then you can swim it up.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is that the best fish? Is that like the most thrilling fish to catch? I know my fourth favorite spearfisher person is this guy Riley in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
He's he seems to be so obsessed with it.
I mean, it's amazing. It is such an exciting thing because in order to do it, I mean, there's so much stuff leading up to it. Like to get in with a school of tuna, it's a whole crazy thing of its own. Like a lot of times, you know, first you have to look at the birds. You know, you have to be looking at the birds and what they're doing, and the birds are going to tell you, you know, where the bait fish are, and oftentimes then you're jumping in with the dolphins, and you're like, you know, for me, I'm just like, hey, I'm trying to always be cool with the dolphins, because where the dolphins are, the tuna are. And so if the dolphins let you swim with them, you can find the tuna. And then after a while swimming with these cool dolphins, you have to say goodbye to them and leave and go into the depth and just go again into that darkness, into that thermocline, into all of that, and to the point where you want to turn back. And then all of a sudden you see these golden sickles. It's just like, yeah. Wow. It's amazing. It's really awesome, and it tastes really good.
Have you ever had a real sketchy situation with a shark coming after your what you shot?
Oh, I've definitely had sketchy situations, but you know, it's just so crazy. Like this thing takes over, and you after a while, this predator instinct where you're just like, it's not even like. A lot of times it's not even like, oh, I feel so sketched out for my own safety, but it's just like, oh, hell no, are you going to take this fish? Like, I just worked my butt off for this thing. Like, you don't get to cheat and steal. You go get your own dinner. This one's mine. And so before you know it, you are just protecting your prey as any animal in the wild would, you know, and you're just trying to fight off this predator from stealing your food.
Is there a fish you haven't seen that you're in the water where you're like, you know, I've never seen a
I mean, I've gone diving in Alaska a couple times, but I've never seen a salmon, which I think would be pretty cool. Just like weird stuff like that. Like it would be really fun to shoot a salmon. But I mean, there's definitely fish. I've never gone diving in Florida.
What?
Yeah, never. I haven't. I don't know how, but
Oh my
I've gone to
God.
Bahamas, so a lot of the same fish.
Yeah, probably. I wonder if there's diving in the Gulf. There's no reefs in the Gulf.
No, the Gulf is amazing.
Really?
You can gonna see a
Yeah.
If you look at my Instagram, there's actually a cool clip of diving the oil rigs of Louisiana.
There's this place
Love it.
that you need to dive in North Carolina. It's called the Frying Pan.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard of it.
You
I've
can
never
stay out there.
North Carolina, but I've definitely
I can hook you
so
up with that.
that is it right there.
Where?
To the right.
Yeah, to the right. Oh, I think I watched this video. Keep going.
Yeah, so I don't shoot a fish in this one, but that's
Is that your boyfriend shooting?
No, this is my friend Perrin. He's an amazing cinematographer.
Yeah, make it smaller, Halston.
But look at that ecosystem, you know. He ended up, going up, Perrin, but I stayed down and I shot a cobia, my first cobia on this trip.
Really?
And they're tasty.
Where would you want to shoot? Where would you want to spearfish in the Gulf? Where would be like ideal?
Well, I really, when you go out of Galveston or whatever, just the oil rigs and the different seamounts out there just hold a lot of life.
Off of Florida?
I don't know. I need to learn more about Florida.
God, I have so many friends in Florida that have boats.
Yeah,
that's all I have. Is the one thing I can get you in Florida is Coke and boats. Weed's kind of hard to come by, but Coke and boats.
Helpful.
Yeah, super helpful. I know you. That's why Warwick Dunn didn't want to be friends with me. He's a football player. So, but yeah, that's Florida is somewhere I would love to be able to. One of the things that I think you'd absolutely love in Florida, which I would like. My dream scenario is to be able to like just hook you up with people that I know. Where I go, oh, take her out and do this. Is swimming with manatees in Florida.
Oh, that would be so
River,
cool.
Pull up Crystal River manatees.
I would love to do that.
It is so gorgeous, Kimmy. It is like one of the most beautiful things I've ever done in my life. Is Crystal River during the winter. This isn't great, but there's like a nuclear plant or a plant there, and it pumps out hot, warm water, and so the manatees all kind of go upriver. And Crystal River is. Can you find an image of it, Halston? It's absolutely gorgeous. It is like white sands, the clearest water you've ever been in your life, and vegetation around and big sinkholes, like big.
Amazing.
Look at this.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, I have seen pictures of this.
It is out of this world. And the manatees, you can just swim with them.
That is so cool.
I know. It really is. We took a family in there.
Oh my gosh.
And went swimming with manatees. It was outrageous.
Okay, yeah, that I would love to do. No, because honestly, every time, I have been flown into Florida. We've just gotten on a plane and gone straight to the Bahamas, and I cannot complain about that. But but this
great.
Crystal
River,
my gosh, that looks
and there's
amazing.
really you can go there's really deep parts of it. It was really great.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm on tour in Florida in the next year. Shit, I'm supposed to announce these tour dates. Yeah, I'm so happy that I met you. I really am. You inspired. Look, I may never go spearfishing in my life, but what it has done is many nights it's gotten me out of like being in my head and being in a bed just watching. I've watched so many freaking videos of people spearfishing. I've watched so many videos of you that literally it inspires me when we go places like Bali, where I got to be honest with you, I'm nervous going when they go, we're going to float the reef for a mile. I go,
well, the currents are really crazy there. There's good reason to be nervous for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, glad you didn't tell me that before I went. But like I say to myself, I get nervous and I get in the water. It's so funny. Like I feel when you said you were comfortable with your dad being in the water, you knew nothing bad was going to happen. This is going to sound really crazy. I get comfortable when my daughters are in the water because I know that if something happened, I then have to jump in front of the shark. So like
Right.
if it's just me, I'm terrified of how I get away.
Yeah.
But I know if my daughters are there and a shark shows up,
That's so true.
I know that I then have a calling. Like
Yeah.
I'm not scared of my daughters in the water. My daughters have no fear of the water whatsoever. And they just jump in. And I'm telling you, I definitely probably thought of you 100 times when we were floating the reef. Because I thought, you know, it's so the life you live and now hearing the story of the first time you went spearfishing and how you just didn't know what you were doing and you felt nervous. So great. I there's so much to this podcast that I hope people draw from where they go, maybe it's not spearfishing, maybe it's dirt bikes, maybe it's hunting, maybe it's, you know, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's growing marijuana, like
whatever it is. I completely agree with that. It's just about, I think sometimes we just get caught into this, you know, this realm of just society of just doing what we think we're supposed to do and being on autopilot. And a lot of times it's like, if you just leave your comfort zone and you just try that thing, that passion, whatever it is that's calling you, it's amazing what it can open up for you. And I think we don't give ourselves enough permission to do that.
Where did you go spearfishing in Malibu?
Leo Carrillo, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which might be a sanctuary now. I don't know.
I think it is actually. It's so funny.
But back then it wasn't.
I met a guy, I won't say his name, but I met a guy who spearfishes off Malibu. And when you do that, do you go out in a boat or do you just swim out?
Kayak again. So the way the nationals worked is just like you get in your kayak, this horn blows, you then paddle your butt off and go to all your spots and hope that the fish are still there, and then you have 6 hours to be back. And
it's whoever catches them.
And so it's a point system set up. You know, there's a species list of the species that you're allowed to catch. Of course, there's bag limits for everything, size limits for everything. And then it's 1 point per fish, 1 point per pound with a max of 15 pounds, meaning you can shoot a fish bigger than that, but you're not going to win the whole thing. So basically, like in Rhode Island, I shot a 33-pound striped bass, but that fish is only worth 16 points. It's the same as if I had shot a 15-pound striped bass. And they make that rule just so that you can't shoot one big fish and win it all. You have to have the skill to find different fish, different species and whatnot. And so, so that's how it works. It's pretty fun. I mean, I got over it because I found myself kind of chasing something that was taking away a passion. But even when I talk about it, there is a part of
that's overwhelming. How many different national events did you compete in?
I only did 2 United States national championships, and then I did a lot of international meets.
And where were those at?
In Tahiti, in New Caledonia, and they'd come to Hawaii as well. But
okay,
that's
say I do this. Say I go. God, I wish this baby's really messing up my plans, Kimmy. So, say I go with you. I learn how to spearfish. And then I got one trip in the world to go spearfishing. Okay. Because Tahiti sounds beautiful. Where would I want to go that's like really outrageous? Not too deep, good fun.
Oh, gosh, there's a lot of really good
give me 5.
spots. Okay, well, I really like Panama a lot because I feel like you get like the Gulf of Cherokee, you just get so much of so many great worlds. There's great reef fish that you can go to inshore, and yet the tuna come in, so you could try your hand at spearfishing yellowfin tuna, which is awesome.
Panama, put that on the list.
Panama's awesome. There's definitely just places in Mexico that are just so sick, like filled with big pargo and snappers and whatnot. Really? Africa is great. So
where
East
in
Africa, if you go to Tanzania, and then
I've been to Tanzania,
and then go to Zanzibar.
I was in Zanzibar,
and then you meet up with this guy. His name is Eric Allard, and he'll take you out on a boat to these atolls that are like you have to take like a day or so to get there. Amazing. I mean, that probably is like And so over there, you not only have these great reefs and so many great, beautiful reef fish, but you have dogtooth tuna. And when you ask me, like, is yellowfin like the pinnacle for you? I have to say doggies. Oh man, if you look up dogtooth tuna,
Google it, Halston.
or I was holding one of those, but you can just look up the fish itself because they look like tuna, but look at those teeth.
Oh my God!
Look at those teeth. They're just insane, and they're just like these prehistoric looking fish that they're not really like they're not really supposed to be like a true tuna, but they taste like a love child. The meat is like a mixture between wahoo and tuna, so it's like really, really good. But they have the strongest fight, I would say, per pound. Like they are gnarly. They're also the fight wise. They're like a giant trevally and a yellowfin tuna had a baby, and so not only will that fish sound, but it's also a reef fish. So it will sound and go bash its head and everything against rocks and whatever and destroy all your gear and bend the crap out of your spear, run into caves, do whatever it wants. They are gnarly fish and they're delicious. And Africa's a good spot to get some big ones. And so that's a good one for sure.
Yeah. So we got Panama, Mexico, Zanzibar.
There's the South Islands of Japan called like kind of Amami and whatnot. You have to kind of get permission though from like the local fishing council there. You have to really kind of get in with the Japanese people and get permission. But over there, oh man, it's pretty excellent there. They're again just good reef fish, nice big doggies too. And
I went swimming with whale sharks in Japan. Whale sharks? Yeah, whale sharks. Yeah.
Whale sharks are really cool. And then one cool thing too. I mean, I don't know. It just depends totally what you're looking for. But I would say like, in the Gulf off of Louisiana, that's pretty cool. In Texas, like totally different zone. But diving those rigs, I mean, you saw how many fish there were.
That was ridiculous. When we were out at the frying pan, we were going to go scuba diving, but the currents were really bad. And so we couldn't get in the water.
Yeah.
And in order to get down, and the winds were bad. There was a big storm coming in. And in order at the frying pan to get down to the water, they had to lower you in like a swing.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. We stayed out there for 3 nights.
That's so crazy.
Just shot shotguns.
I've seen photos of that. That's a trip.
Bert frying pan is a really attractive photo of me out there. But yeah, that's
but also like Norway, like it's just neat to shoot different fish. Like I've shot Arctic cod over there, and it's just crazy to be shooting these crazy cold water Arctic fish, and then you come up and it's like snowing. So there's just such a variety out there, and I think it's just different places of Indonesia are amazing. There's so many cool places.
Best what's your favorite island? I've been to Fiji, I've been to Bali, but like what's your favorite island that isn't Hawaii? That like when you look at like Tahiti, Bora Bora, all that area, what's your favorite island where you're like, that is everything you've ever wanted in an island?
Pico Island, Azores.
In the Azores?
Yeah.
Pico Island.
Mm-hmm.
Halston, write that down. Pico Island in the Azores.
I love it there.
Really?
I do. I love it there. And it's not even like, it has the best spearfishing ever or anything like that. But to me, it's just like, it's like Hawaii in a lot of ways because it's like these volcanic rocks and beautiful, lush mountains. But then it's like old Europe in a lot of ways. It cobbled because it's Portugal. It's part of, so it's like the Azores are like off the coast of Portugal, but far off the coast. They're like us. They're like in the middle of the Atlantic in the same way we're in the middle of the Pacific. But it's a Portuguese group of islands, and so you can just go there and drink great wine, just straight from the grapes, and just like talk to like beautiful old Portuguese people, and at the same time go spearfishing and come out with like they call it lapas, and what we would call them opihi. It's just like these limpets that you can get off the rocks and eat them and fish and whatnot. So I would say that's pretty darn amazing. And then another one would be Dominica, which is this island in the Caribbean where there's sperm whales, which are freaking super cool. Like,
really?
Yeah, there's a
give me up pull something up.
There's a picture of me on my. I don't want you to have to look for it too long because it was a while ago. But there's a picture of me at Dominica where this sperm whale swam up to me on the surface, flipped upside down, and opened its mouth and showed me all its teeth. And it's a pretty freaky looking thing. But then when I got out of the water, I was with some scientists, and I told them what happened. They're just like, oh, that's so interesting. And what happened is they said I was directly in its line of where it was going, and their heads are so big, they have the biggest heads on the planet, that it just couldn't see me with both eyes at the same time, so it had to flip upside down because its top of its head is so big. It flipped upside down so it could see me with both eyes, and then their hearing comes from the inside, so it opened its mouth just to listen to me, and then it went on its way. But
oh my God.
Yeah, but sperm whales are pretty darn cool. It's an old one, and it's just an all blue picture, but if you zoom in, it's a sperm whale.
So what's the future hold for you?
So I think right now the future holds staying put in Hawaii for a bit. I mean, obviously I'm still traveling a little here and there and doing stuff like this, but we just bought a house and just trying to move in and nest, and I'm really excited for the adventure of being a mom. I'm really happy with my home, and looking forward to spending more time there and being able to just keep diving, keep getting food, being a mama bear. And
up until how long can you free dive? They tell you?
They don't know, so sorry.
There hasn't been a lot of us doing it, so no one's got any research.
So I'm just trying to listen to my body and trust it. And I feel like I'll kind of know when it's like, okay, this isn't feeling right anymore, or I'm just not able to physically do this, you know. And in the meantime, I'm still going, and I'm still spearfishing. I'm still doing my thing. I'm definitely not trying to push myself. I'm not trying to prove anything. But that's my form of exercise, and that's my form of happiness and meditation and whatnot. And I feel like it's kind of got to be good for me. So I'm just still doing it.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you know if you're having a boy or girl?
I don't know, but I'll find out in 2 weeks. So I'm like, I'm 16 weeks. So it's so weird. I start talking in weeks all of a sudden, but I'm 4 months, and
13 weeks is the all right, you're having a baby.
I think that 12 weeks is okay, you can start telling people because it's probably going to happen. And then, but so I'm at 16, and then at 18 in 2 weeks we can find out if it's a boy or girl.
Do you know what you do?
I kind of I always imagined my whole life. I imagined myself, for whatever reason, having a boy. I don't know why. And then as soon as I took that pregnancy test and I found that I was pregnant, I'm just like, you're a girl, aren't you? And so I just can't. I feel like it's a girl, but that's just a guess.
I was at a party, a bar mitzvah last night, and I haven't been drinking much. And last night I was like, I'm gonna have a drink and I'll get high, and then I'll just ride it out. Because if I get high, I get wasted really easily.
Right.
So then I'm like, oh, and then
I drink less.
I drink less. So I have a tequila on the rocks. I go down, I take a hit of this brand new vaporizer I have, which is absolutely amazing. I love this fucking vaporizer. You put the weed in and it just burns the crystals of the marijuana, not the plant. So you're not it's good for your lungs. I love this goddamn thing. So I come in. I realized I'd taken a little too big of a hit, and I'm a little higher than I thought I'd be. And this guy goes, "Yeah, we want to have a kid, but I don't know if I can have a daughter." And I must have talked his fucking ear off on the beauty of having girls.
Good.
And I was like, "No, I used to want boy." And then halfway through, I realized he's just looking at me like, "Dude, I just said I didn't want to get into a conversation about it." I must have talked to him for a half an hour, and then all through my Instagram stories, it's me videotaping my daughters going, "I love having daughters."
Oh my God.
Daughters are a lot of fun. They're ball breakers. Mine are ball breakers. And this is how we'll end this interview. And it has been eye-opening as their father, I look for women like you who are inspirational, especially to young girls who don't know you can be the most badass spearfishing person out there and that you can win national championships. They don't, that to meet someone like you, to watch videos of you, we've watched so many of your videos, for then you to walk in my house and my daughters to look at you and go, well, that's a real person.
I think I think there has to be something to be said about having dads like you too, because I feel like I do what I do because I had a dad who, you know, for lack of better words, raised me like a boy, you know, and by that I just mean raised me as an equal. Like
Raised
that's
you as a
all it
person.
really means. Yeah.
Didn't look at you and go,
he didn't treat me differently because I'm a girl. He didn't make the world limited to, you know, for me because I was a girl. And because everyone will say, oh, your dad raised you like a boy, but it's like actually he was just raising like a human. And all, you know, all his dive partners weren't really stoked on him bringing his little daughter with him at first, but he did it because he saw that it was fine, and he saw that it was good, and you know, and now he just loves taking all the credit now, which he deserves, because I think it was because of him that, you know, I really got this like opportunity in a way that a lot of other girls maybe didn't get. Like one lesson that I learned is just when I was competing and stuff, and then all these other girls started getting into spearfishing and whatnot, and then it became a thing where, you know, like locally where they're like, we want women's divisions and stuff like that. I was talking to my sister and I was just like, ugh, like I don't want a women's division. And I was like, I don't, you know, I'm like, I just want to be a diver. I like putting my wetsuit on, putting my hood on, not being a boy, not being a girl, just being a diver. I don't want to be better than the boys. I don't want to be good for a girl. I just want to be a diver. And like, why are we going to have women's division so that like 3 of us can enter and we can all go home with a trophy? Like, that's bullshit. Like, come on. Like, let's just all like, to empower women, let's just compete, you know, as humans, as divers. And then my sister, she just looked at me and she's like, oh, that must be nice for you to say. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, Kimmy, she's like, do you understand what kind of dad we had? And she's like, do you know any other dads that raised us the way that he did? And she's like, besides us, can you think of any other little girl who their dad took them diving, took them spearfishing? And I thought back to those days. I'm like, no. She's like, how many boys can you think of? And I was like, damn. And she's like, you know, or even if it wasn't, she's like, later on when he got older, did you see any other little girls where their uncles were taking them or somebody was taking them? And I was like, no. And she just kept going on and on. And then by the time she was done, and she's like, so basically you had an opportunity that most women never had. You were exposed to the ocean and to somebody believing in you that you could do this. And at such a young age that stuck with you. That's why you were able to grab that spear at 24 and go try. And she's like, you know, a lot of guys get that opportunity too, but she's like, but the fact that you grew up in Hawaii and you don't know one other girl that was raised that way, she's like, and so now there's these girls that see you doing it. You've become their hero. You've become something that makes it look possible to them, and they want to try. You're not going to give them their own division. I was like, you're right. You're right.
You're not going to give them their own division.
Yeah. And so, but I do think that, you know, that's something you do to even the playing field for now, because with the way that society is built up, it, you know, might not be equal, but what you're doing and what I see so many dads doing now, because now I see tons of dads in Hawaii taking their daughters diving. And I think maybe it took them seeing a woman that they respected being able to do it to be like, oh, I want my daughter to do that too. But yeah, I just think, you know, ending it on parenthood, that's really important is the way that you talk about, you know, your daughters in the water and what they can do and the role models you want for them. That's something I think that is going to really empower them later in their life, and then, you know, empower the future generations too.
Oh, it's been the funnest part of having girls is like, but it's not in the forefront of my brain, but like 2 of my good friends, a woman named Whitney Cummings just had a Netflix special, and a woman named Nikki Glazer. They're both comedians, but Nikki has been very vocal about dealing with eating disorder. That's not her thing, but like she talked about it on podcasts. Mm-hmm. And then to know that I got this wealth of knowledge, this like real beacon of like, if that happens in our house, I can go to Nikki, and I've had her here and she's talked to the girls. And then Whitney got blackmailed online the other day about she had accidentally showed a picture of her nipple, and these guys were trying to blackmail her, and she then took charge and posted that picture and said, no one's getting my money and no one's getting my time. Go fuck yourself. This is that picture they're trying to blackmail me for.
Wow.
The girls found out about it, came over and were like, hey, Whitney had a pig for a while. They're like, Whitney's the one with the pig, right? And I went, yeah. And they're like, did you hear what happened to her? And I was like, and I posted a picture of my testicles in support with Whitney of when I'd blown out one of my testicles, and I was panicked, like, wait, what did you hear? What have you seen?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And so but it's been the coolest part. And by the way,
That's amazing.
I didn't like, I mean, when you really think about this, I only know of like 2 or 3 male spearfisher people, but I only know of the whole thing because of you. I only know of it because of you. Like,
right.
Like as many badass dudes are out there that are probably doing it, I only found it because of you, and I've only been interested because of you. Because when I saw your video, I just was like, God, this looks so pure. Mm-hmm. It looks like so primal, so the thing that I'm like, in my head I was like, that I'm looking for in life, like a hobby that gets you into nature, gets you active, but is exciting and thrilling, and something that's addictive. And I'm just very grateful that if I'm grateful for anything, I'm grateful that I'm in a position where I can reach out to someone like you and that we can do a podcast like this, and that I can share everything you share with all these people. So hopefully that, and then like I said earlier, if it's not spearfishing, if it's something else, people can go, oh, I think I found my passion. I think I want to find something. I don't want the coffee mug that says, so this is it for the rest of my life.
Oh, I love it.
Well, hopefully I come out to Hawaii.
I really hope so. I mean, the passion in which you talk about it, I just feel like we need to make it happen.
I got to make it happen.
And I hope this podcast just makes all your followers and fans even hold you more accountable to living that dream.
That'll definitely happen. We'll switch numbers, and you know, I'm such a whore. I'll be like, oh, I'm bringing. Can your boyfriend shoot it so we can put it on YouTube and we can put it on Instagram? And I'm gonna bring a cameraman down too. He's a free diver. Like I'm such that I can't do anything without it encompassing work. One of my buddies, Ari Shafir, was like, I'll probably bring him with us too. And it was like, hey, we should ride motorcycles in Vietnam on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And I was like, dude, hell yeah, I'm in. I got a cameraman. And he was like, no. We should do it to do it. And I was like, oh, I don't know what that means. I was like, I don't really have experiences unless they're videotaped these days. But well, hopefully we can make that happen. I would love to.
We have to.
And congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait. Bertha's a great name.
For a girl?
Yeah, for a girl. Bertha. Thank you.
Oh, Bertha.